Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on Paramount Plus that is deathly afraid of heights. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge All-Stars Season 2 Episode 4. Now let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Jody and Kahada winning in the elimination against Ryan and Sophia. And coming back to the challenge house, Kahada and Jody are on cloud 9. They won the elimination, they won the life shield, they're back in the game, and Jody in particular is having a grand old time celebrating her first elimination win in her challenge career. And along with them celebrating, Derrick is celebrating just as hard because they are two of his closest allies in the game, and also if they have life shields, he's looking at it as if he has a life shield. Now, speaking of allies and alliances, we move to a conversation where MJ is having in his room with Derrick and Kahada, and he wants to lock down an alliance in this game and know where his numbers lie. It looks like there is a 5-person alliance with MJ, Derrick, Kahada, Derrick, and Brad. And so they're talking about being an alliance with each other, locking it up, and also wanting to take shots at Laterian and Nehemiah. What they didn't figure was that Nehemiah was listening and eavesdropping to their conversation behind the door. So Nehemiah taking this newly found information, taking it back to his room where he talks to Laterian and Steve about how there's an alliance, that they should start an alliance within their room. So now we're going to have warring rooms within the challenge game, 2 alliances. And so the other alliance that is formed right now is Nehemiah, Laterian, Tech, Melinda, and Steve. Then we move to a conversation that Katie is having with Tina and Janelle, and Katie is thinking that she is put in a good position in this game. She is well liked in the game, she's well connected, socially she is a good player, and she thinks that her threat level is pretty low in the game, so she thinks that she's going to be able to make it far within this game. And then we move to a conversation between Derrick and Nehemiah, and they talk about the beef that they have with each other, and Derrick is asking, are you still upset with me for not giving you Ryan your first choice after I was in power and had to nominate 4 players? And Nehemiah and Derrick are talking around the billiards table, but even though that they're talking, it doesn't seem like they're squashing any of their beef. It feels like the beef is just laying around in the air and it's just wafting through the house. And Derrick is like, I'm cool with both of these guys, but if I had to choose, I want to stick with Derrick. We go way back, but now let's move on to this week's daily challenge where everybody dons their challenge gear, head down to meet TJ at the bottom of this like tall building. And come to find out, there's like a big old rig at the top of this building. And this is going to be a trivia challenge called Bright Skies, where everyone is going to have to be standing on a ledge being asked questions. And if you can't answer the question, you will be dropped 10 stories and out of this game. The first man and woman to answer a question wrong in their respective heats will be going directly into the elimination. Now, one of my favorite parts of this daily challenge was TJ asking the players who have had troubles with heights in the past or doesn't like heights. He's asking them like, Derrick, how do you feel about being up high on top of a building? And I will say that Derrick has made it known that he is not a fan of heights, but he's never let that stop him from competing in a challenge. Now, Katie, on the other hand, is looking up at this building, gives a joking answer to hide how she truly feels. I have to say, when TJ addresses Casey about her past of quitting and DQing in heights challenges, she's like, I'm here for redemption and I'm gonna give it all I got because my past does not define me. And I'm thinking, this is a new Casey. Like, I've never seen her like this before. And this is what we love All-Stars for, because players can rewrite their history. Players can come in for redemption. They can come in and be a completely different player, play a completely different game, and beast things out. I love to see it. Now, the women are up first, and before any questions are answered and everybody is getting their harnesses on, that's when Katie gets like a panic attack and she starts to have anxiety up on top of this building, and she is yelling for everybody to just get her down. She doesn't want to compete. She's not going to get an answer right. She just wants to be off this thing. And finally, producers come in and undo her harness, and she is disqualified from the game, meaning she is going directly into the elimination. Now, the rest of the women can relax a little bit, answer the questions, and play for the win. Now, I will say this trivia challenge is a little bit different, where you have to answer a question that has multiple answers, and you have to get the answer right within the category. If you get it wrong, then you lose. We do have like name a Tom Cruise movie or name a Britney Spears song, which is fun, but I personally like where the trivia challenge was mainly about challenge history. But I thought this was a fun trivia challenge, especially since we're not getting a trivia challenge in season 37. So I like this trivia challenge. So let's go into where the women placed. Of course, Katie got DQ'd, so she's going directly into elimination. The next woman out was Ayanna, who guessed Super Bowl for a challenge arena name. Next out was Jasmine, who repeated Johnny's answer of a name of Britney Spears song. We have Kendall, who couldn't name an SEC school. She named BYU, who is not in the Southeastern Conference. Then we have big chain restaurants. Janelle named Denny's, which got her out. 13 individual winners of the challenge, name them, and Tina couldn't name what seemed to be one. Next up was name a country with a population over 100 million. Jody said Singapore, which was wrong. And then next out was Melinda, who said Kanye West for the top 20 highest followed celebrities on Instagram, which was wrong. So it comes down to John A. and Casey naming Harry Potter novels. And so Casey, who has not read a single Harry Potter book but has watched some of the movies, is going up against John A., who is a savant in the wizarding world. They're going back and forth, trading blows. Casey gets lucky saying Deathly Hallows, but then John A. thought, oh, that was all the novels. We named them all, except for the 5th novel, which is Order of the Phoenix. John A. couldn't place it, and she completely forgot it, meaning Casey wins this height challenge, which I have to give it up for Casey for conquering her fear of heights, staying in this game, and winning a heights challenge. But now it's time for the men's heat, and their first question is, name someone who's won more than one season of the challenge. It seems like everyone gets at least one answer correctly because it comes back to Brad, who already said CT. It comes back to Brad, and I think he was just looking for a name, and he said Katie, and that was wrong. So Brad was the first man to be eliminated, meaning he's going directly into the elimination alongside Katie. Next person out was MJ, who said New Orleans for a coastal state, which New Orleans, not a state. Next up, we have everybody naming a Tom Cruise movie, and Nehemiah says Mission Impossible 4. At that point, they were putting subtitles on the movie, so it was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. So Nehemiah was out. Then name the most valuable sports teams in the world. Derrick went for the Celtics, which was surprisingly wrong. Another one that shocked me was name a multi-Oscar winner, and Kata said Pacino, which I can't fault that one. And then name a US city with a population of 1 million or more, and Tyler says Atlanta, which was wrong. Then Tech is the next one out, thinking that the challenge filmed in Jamaica more than once. And then Darrell thought Boris Cujo was a sexiest man alive at one point, which I love TJ's reaction, which was like, who? So it comes down to Latyrian versus Steve, and they have to name the 10 fastest land animals. Steve gets a huge advantage going first in answering because he says cheetah. And after that, I'm even drawing a blank. So Latyrian can't think of another animal. He says zebra, but that is wrong. So Steve wins. So now we have the power duo of Casey and Steve. So then we come back to the challenge house, and then we have Tech, Nehemiah, and Steve talking about their strategy heading into the deliberation and nomination ceremony. Steve wants to take a shot at the 3-headed monster, he calls them, of Derrick, Darrell, and Brad. Brad is already going into the elimination, so he wants to ensure that somebody on the alliance is going up against Brad to make sure that the other alliance is losing at least one player. So that's when Nehemiah says, hey, you gotta remember, Jody and Kata are working alongside those 3, and they have a life shield. And that's when Steve is like, yeah, but wouldn't they use it on each other? So this is when Steve, when at the nomination ceremony, is thinking we should nominate Jody and Kahada, make them burn their life shields on each other, and then we can nominate who we actually want in the elimination. And Casey is all for this idea. So for the men, Steve's idea is to nominate Kahada and Tyler. Kahada will use his life shield. He can then put in Derrick, who he really wants to send into the elimination, and Tyler is well connected, and he has the numbers to just be the pawn, sit next to Derrick, and Derrick will be the one going into the elimination against Brad. Casey's up, and she's thinking, okay, I want to take Derrick out, and we got to take Derrick's numbers out, so they can't vote. So with that being the case, we'll put in Jody. She'll burn her life shield. She can't vote, and then we'll put in Kendall, who would be a vote to keep Derrick. But Katie's one rule to Steve was don't nominate Kendall. I don't want to go into an elimination against Kendall. So Steve is kind of freaking out. He doesn't want Kendall to go into the elimination, but he's thinking, okay, well, once Jody uses the life shield, we'll just put Ayanna in there, and Ayanna will get all the votes to be sent into the elimination against Katie. So we get the 4 original nominees of Kendall, Jody, Kahada, and Tyler. That's when Jody and Kahada come down to see who the nominees are. they of course use their life shields on each other, and then that's when they make the switch of Kendall, Ayanna, Derrick, and Tyler. And so coming back to the house before the house vote, Katie is let in on who the nominees are, which is Ayanna and Kendall, which Katie is like, are you freaking stupid? Those are like the top 2 women in this game. You're feeding me to the lions. And she is so pissed at Steve. And Steve is just like, I thought you said you could want to go up against anybody except for Kendall, right? That's what you wanted? And Katie's like, no, use your brain. I want to go up against somebody that I think I can win against. And Steve, it just went completely over his head. Now let's go to the house votes, where Casey kicks things off by telling everybody the reasons why that they nominated Ayanna and Kendall, and that her and Steve were aligned in wanting to take out Derrick and take a shot at him. And that's when Katie says, hey, I told Steve that I don't want to go up against Kendall in elimination. So I want everyone to vote Ayanna into the elimination, and I hope everybody can respect my wishes. This is when Ayanna, perfectly timed, just takes off her clothes and does a wardrobe change in front of everybody into her elimination gear, showing I'm ready. I'm good. I'm going. Like, let's go right now. I'm ready to go. I love Katie coming into the season. I wanted to see her go far, but when I saw that it was between Kendall and Ayanna going up against her this episode, I was like, oh, that is going to be a tough battle. We move on to Derrick addressing everybody, going, okay, just remember, if you vote for me, I'm going to remember this, and when I come back into the house, I'm going to be taking shots at everybody that takes a shot at me. And also, he said that the tactics that Steve and Casey did in the nominations to make sure that a life shield couldn't be used on him was dirty. But Casey stood by, clapped back at Derrick, saying, those weren't your life shields. You can't take ownership of those life shields. Those were Kutta and Jody's. They won the elimination. It was rightfully theirs, and you got outplayed. And I loved Casey clapping back at Derrick. I don't know, there was something rubbing me wrong about Derrick in this episode. He just seemed very, so sure of himself. He seemed so, prideful, and I don't know, it was just really good tactics. I didn't think it was dirty. I think they just played smarter, not harder. And so it comes down to the vote, and the votes were 10-0 for Ayanna to go into the elimination against Katie, and then it was 7-3 for Derrick to go into the elimination against Brad, his own alliance member. Now, before heading to the arena, Nehemiah wants to show his support for Brad by making a makeshift beard, thanks in part to Janae and some hair glue. He is able to have a pretty decent beard, and Brad is very much enjoying it. So we move to the arena, where everybody meets up with TJ. First of all, out is the players that came in last place in today's elimination, which was Katie and Brad, and then coming out was the house vote of Ayanna and Derrick, and they are going to be playing an elimination called Wait, There's More, where they have to solve a puzzle, but before they can solve the puzzle, they have to take weights from one end of the arena to the other, and there's 1,000 pounds here. So they have to move all 1,000 pounds to where, once they do, there is a puzzle that will lift out of the ramp, and then they have to solve the puzzle. The first players to solve their puzzle wins, stays in this game, gets a life shield, and keeps on playing for that $500,000. First up is Ayanna and Katie, and I have to say that from Ayanna's first elimination win, with weights, I was like, oh, Ayanna's gonna beast this out. I think she could leave Katie in the dust. I hope Katie can make this a good competition, which I think she does. I think once Ayanna finishes moving all of her weight, which she does first, but when she does, Katie only has a little bit left. I mean, she's not that far behind, and she even gets to her puzzle at a relatively quick time. They're doing the puzzle together, but to me, Katie just lost too much energy moving all those weights. So when she got to the puzzle, she was moving a little bit slower than Ayanna, and she could not catch up. And so Ayanna wins this elimination. Sadly, Katie is eliminated. And then we move over to the men's side, where we have Brad and Derrick, and I think that this is a pretty level competition here. Both men are very physical, not so much mental with the puzzles, so the weight portion of this elimination was very much in balance and level, as both men were giving it their all. They both are very strong. They were machines moving this 1,000 pounds. Both men finished the weight portion of this elimination mere seconds of each other. Brad finishes just a couple of seconds before Derrick. However, when the puzzles come up for both men, Brad just gets straight to it and starts moving pieces, where Derrick seems to be taking a rest and looking at this puzzle. It seemed like the weight portion really took a lot out of him. He finally got started on the puzzle, but Brad was able to edge him out on this puzzle, winning this elimination. And sadly, some fan favorites of Katie and Derrick are eliminated early on in this season. Brad and Ayana get to stay in this game. They get a life shield. But that is it for this episode. What do you think about this Challenge All-Stars episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What do you think about this daily challenge? What do you think about the elimination? What do you think about the power duo of Casey and Steve and who their nominations were? Do you think that they made some good choices, or do you think that they should have made some different choices? What do you think about the players in the elimination? And what do you think about this episode overall? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge All-Star content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.